Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Now today's first story comes from a deleted user titled, "My mum stole $6,000 from me, claiming I owe it to her," and it does come with an update. She's 50 female and I'm 17 female. She lost her job in March of this year and was behind on rent and bills. So without asking me or telling me, she just emptied my bank account. I'm a minor in the US. When I confronted her, she told me I owed it to her for her struggles raising me as a single parent. The thing is, I'm heading to college in a month, and that money was my living expenses for the entire year. It was money I had earned through competitions and awards, not to mention she isn't contributing a penny towards my education, and after paying for tuition, I now no longer have any way to support myself without a loan. Not to mention I already contributed around $2,500 in rent over the past few months, since she was laid off and she had around $45,000 in her own savings account. She had no reason to withdraw from mine. Of course, she isn't paying me back. Never does, even though she claims she will. No one seems to be taking me seriously. I called family, the police station, etc., and everyone is just dismissing me for being overdramatic. I feel so hurt and betrayed by her actions. She has a history of being verbally/physically abusive, but this is just unfathomable. I can't rationalize how my own mother could steal from me. How do I deal with these emotions? I'm so lost and I can't think. Edit to add, I also can't set up my own account until I'm 18, so even if I do earn any money, I know exactly where it's going to go for the fall and most of the spring semester. Now, as always, I'm going to leave the legalities of this to the comments because I'm sure they're going to be far more knowledgeable about this than I am. But this is incredibly sad. Your own parent, the one that you trust, taking money from you like this, claiming, it's for the struggles they've been through raising you. And from the details OP's put in this post, I can't see any way out of it other than, when you can, getting out of that situation, because she sounds like a horrible person from the way you've explained it here. And I know it must be difficult. I mean, from the outside, we always say get out of there, and it sounds so easy to do so. But when you've been raised in this situation and you think that's normality, it's got to be incredibly difficult at the same time, but I can't see any other way around it also. And we've covered stories in the past where people are just about to go to college and then their money's been taken away from them. And I wonder if you can talk to the college about it and they may be able to give you some advice to help you through it. Again, I'm just throwing things out there because I really don't know the legalities behind it, because it seems like the police are ignoring OP at the moment. But Only Angel Left says, I would recommend talking to your local bank manager as well. I opened my first checking account when I was 16 without a cosigner/adult because my mum was similar, through US Bank. I had money put into a savings account growing up and never actually saw it. When I got my first job, I refused to use that same saving account. I didn't trust my mum with having access to it. I think they can approve it at their own discretion. OP replied saying, thank you so much. This gives me hope. I'll visit my local Chase and US Bank tomorrow to see if they can make an exception. Pale and Timeless says, just wanted to say, it is not okay for her to claim your money as payment for her taking care of you when you were a child. That is very immature and manipulative. Not sure what you can do about the money lost, but I would definitely try to set up an account that she does not have access to. OP replies saying, unfortunately, I can't take her off my account until I'm 18, which is well into the spring semester, but thank you for your advice. Bray says, well, when you haven't spoken to her in 10 years, she will have no one to blame but herself. I'm guessing that this is just the tip of the iceberg. OP replies saying, just the tip, but I think it's the straw that broke the camel's back. TMCHD says, you're going to college, right? You may have to open your own student checking accounts. Go to your college to talk about this. Unfortunately, you need to have your mail sent to you instead of the address you share with your mother. As a parent, I'm mortified that your mother did this to you. I'm so sorry. OP replied saying, I'm looking at student checking accounts, but until I'm 18, my mum has to co-sign and can withdraw funds. Delicious Archer says, so here is what you do. Set up a GoFundMe. Let it say you had saved up $6,000 to use to support yourself through the school year. Your mother went into your account and stole it, and now you have no way to go to school. People will donate. Your mum will hear from friends and family about what she's done. Open up a bank account in your name. No cosigner. Corrupt Cook says, I can't imagine how angry or sad you are. But once you become an adult, I think you should leave that household as fast as you possibly can. But the solution now is that you apply for a loan, which is one of the little options that you have right now. But I would get a job ASAP. But I would steal that money back, some way, somehow. I can't say it'll get better, but I'm praying and hoping that it will. Hope this helped at least a little bit. And as I said, we do have an update on this post, and it says, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to everyone who took the time to read my post and give me advice. There were too many comments to respond to, but I did read every one, and my heart goes out to those who shared similar stories. A lot has happened in the past few days. The day after I posted, my mum broke the lock on my bedroom door and accused me of planning her rape and murder in conjunction with my professor. Which is not only false, but so laughably outlandish that I finally called my university, as many here suggested. Their police department got me out the same day and put me in a temporary shelter for 2 days before moving me temporarily to university dorms. My mum did put up a fight while I was leaving and accused me of being a sex worker. She claimed evidence of my illegal activities could be found on my computer, iPad and phone, all currently in police custody. I did give the police permission to look through my devices and even gave them my passwords to everything, but the relentless daily interrogations have really worn me down. Thankfully, my university gave me a loaner laptop, so I'm able to resume classes. I also found out that I won a scholarship I had applied for a while back and will be receiving a check worth $10,000 in the next week. Until I find permanent housing, I plan to put a hold on my mail so my mum can't get her hands on that money. Thank you so much to everyone who so graciously offered to donate, but it looks like I will now be able to afford all of my tuition with a little left over. Of course, I still miss my mum, and it takes everything in me not to respond to the email she sends me asking if I'm safe and telling me she loves me. I'm trying to stay strong through it all, but I know deep down I did the right thing. There's still a lot I have to figure out, like opening my bank account with no access to any official documents or a phone. But I'm hoping to iron those kinks within the next month or so, and I'll post an update again when my situation is more stable. And many suggestions after that post were telling OP to secure their bank account, make sure it's 100% secure and there's no way she can get access to it. Other people were saying, the mum sounds mentally unstable in this, that she went, so extreme, so quickly like that. I'm just so incredibly glad that OP is out of that situation. There was no further update on this as it's a deleted account. And like OP said, and we said in the first part, it must be incredibly difficult. It's that they're saying that they're trying to stay strong, and it's taken everything in them to not respond to their mum, who's asking if they're safe, who's telling them that she loves them. So it must be incredibly difficult for OP, whilst their life is moving upwards. It must be hard to look back and see someone that you probably still love, although all that shit that's gone on, you still do love that person. But yeah, it must be just so difficult for them. But again, I hope that they're living their best life right now. But what do you guys make of this particular situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from SafetyLight3099, who says, am I the arsehole for using my son's savings to get his stepbrother's car fixed? My stepson, 19, got a new car from his bio mum. She and her family are well off, and unlike me, they could afford to buy a car. I'm happy for my stepson, but my son, 17, isn't. In fact, he complains about how unfair it is for my husband to let his ex gift their son a car but not him. It's unreasonable, I know. But the teenage years are mostly hard, and it's even harder to expect the kids to be reasonable. My son wanted to take part in driving the car as a compromise, or else we would have to get rid of it. I sat him down to explain to him that the car is his stepbrother's property, and he shouldn't be expecting to drive it unless he's given permission. He was having none of it and kept giving us ultimatums saying he either share the car with his stepbrother or the car goes. When my husband confronted him, my son went and done so much damage to the car. He threw paint on it, ruined the lights and damaged the front of it completely. My stepson had a breakdown when he saw it in the morning, and husband was beyond livid after seeing the footage from our driveway cam and seeing my son damaging the car. My husband confronted my son later, and all my son did was laugh and give him the middle finger. I went to take all of his camp savings for this summer to pay for the damages and give them to my husband. My son found out and went batshit on everyone in the house. He accused me of stealing, then trying to please my husband for sex, then told his stepbrother that he warned him and so he shouldn't be blamed. He also said it was my fault for not getting him a car or getting my husband to get him a car in the first place to avoid favoritism and conflict. He's been spending the majority of his time in his room, refusing to come out or eat anything. I'm worried about him not eating because he did this once and ended up in the hospital for low blood pressure. Now, you had me at the title like this when I thought I was going to come into this when I thought, oh, this is going to be a you're the arsehole one. But going through this is not the arsehole. This is consequences of his own actions, destroying someone's property and then them starving yourself afterwards. This doesn't seem like normal behavior to me, and it seems like he may need some help. I'm not excusing the behavior at all, don't get me wrong. But the fact that he starved himself before and he's doing it again and ended up in the hospital because of it, it seems like he does need some sort of help somewhere along the line. And if he doesn't get the help, I'm just worried for the person's future. Not getting what he wants, so he automatically turns to destroying someone else's property. Anyone else, the police would be called. But no gender, only chaos says, not the arsehole. When I saw the title, I was ready to call you out, but you handled that pretty well. Your son is almost an adult, he should act like it. He was not remorseful, and he should be grateful your stepson didn't press charges. If he complains, ask if he'd rather his stepbrother press charges. Carrie Chan says, I'm not even gonna lie. I stopped reading after you said your 17-year-old son gave you an ultimatum about someone else's property. Tuned back in to see he damaged it and to ask myself what is wrong with you to even think you're an arsehole. Definitely not the arsehole, it's called consequences of his actions. I don't know how he even felt he was in a position to offer an ultimatum to begin with. Tell him to get over himself, and if he ends up in hospital for trying to starve himself with a tantrum, let them know what's going on so they can maybe admit him for a mental evaluation. So Dano says, not the arsehole, your son needs professional help. This is beyond teen angst or hormones. At his age, he should be able to comprehend that his stepbrother has a separate parent who has no connection to and who can and will provide for a son, and sometimes this includes gifts. Your son should be grateful that his stepbrother didn't involve the police. What he did is a felony in many jurisdictions, and at 17, it's very likely he would be treated as an adult. Cryan says, if you're concerned about his refusal to eat, have him put in a 72-hour psych hold. It'll start the process of getting him the help he clearly needs, and then monitor him if he needs medical help. And one more from Oregon Mum who says, not the arsehole. He would lose everything except his clothes if he were my kid. Tell him that you can use his savings to fix the car and he'll be working to cover anything left over, or you can file a police report so your SS can file an insurance claim. His choice. Now, what would you do in this situation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from Unable Astronaut 8984 who says, am I the arsehole for refusing to give my stepsister tickets to a concert I have free tickets to and tell her to stay home and look after her daughter instead? Okay, to be blunt, my 24 female brother, 21 male, is a stripper, but he's one of the ones that put on those complex shows with pole tricks and those floating hoop things. He gets hired to perform at gigs, sometimes just to entertain, sometimes to strip, etc. He's been hired to perform at a few concerts over the past years. Also, as things have opened up and when they are safe for work, he often offers me free tickets. I don't know most of the artists since they are normally smaller underground concerts, but I enjoy the atmosphere, so I normally go. Our parents split after I finished high school. My dad is still single, but our mum had remarried, and we now have step-siblings, 18 male, 20 female, 22 female. When they found out what my brother does, my stepbrother didn't really care, but my stepsisters freaked out and refused to be around him. Especially the older one. She has a kid, and didn't want her to even be around my brother. This really damaged my relationship with them. After he asked, I started taking my stepbrother with me, as he also really likes this sort of atmosphere. Now my brother offered me tickets to this gig next week. I text my stepbro about it and he freaked out since he actually knew this small band and really liked them. But turns out so does his older sister. She found out and texted me asking if I could get her some free tickets. I immediately said no. She got upset and asked why. And I told her that after how she has treated my brother, there was no way I was letting her use him to get free stuff. She called me petty and that she was just being a good mother and looking out for her daughter. I then told her to stay home and look after her daughter then. She called me a few names before I just stopped responding to her texts. So, am I the arsehole? Now to me this feels like a pretty simple not the arsehole. You know, your brother gets these tickets through his job. The job in which stepsister disapproves of and doesn't want to be around him because of. So why should she bloody get to use the tickets that he's providing? Bloody cheeky so-and-so. And petty sassy Mark's coming out again. I'll be having pictures all over social media about what a great time I'm having. At the concert, of course. But Yeehaw Me More says, hypocrite's gonna hypocrite, especially when there is free stuff. Not the arsehole. To which Green Passion Fruit says, not the arsehole. You have called the situation completely accurately. She wants to use your brother when it is convenient for her, but she doesn't treat him with respect or kindness. That's messed up. She's selfish and neither of you owe her anything. Betrayed Orphan replies to that saying, exactly. The only way a stripper or exotic dancer of any kind is a threat to a child is if the parents are so horrible that they would take the child to shows. In normal everyday situations such as a birthday party, the kid is in no danger at all. Your stepsister is a judgmental person who is just shown complete hypocrisy by wanting benefits without actually being a friend to your brother. Not the arsehole. Sedano says, not the arsehole. You don't get to ostracize and pass judgment on someone and then leverage them for concert tickets. Fucker. Like you said, let her stay home and be a good mother. To which Blackburning Rose says exactly this. I don't know how your brother would feel about this. A family member who makes for uncomfortable family gatherings is now watching him perform the very thing that ostracized him. While someone else did say this could be an enlightening moment, it also has the ability to turn the experience into ammunition of a very specific and hurtful variety. I think you did a great job protecting your brother, not the arsehole. Now, what do you guys make of this scenario? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's move on to another story. And our next story comes from a low statistician who says, am I the arsehole for not letting my neighbours borrow my car for a long trip? I, female 29, moved to a new neighbourhood almost 2 years ago. I live alone, no partner or kids, but my mum, female 80, does live with me part of the year, 6 to 8 months of the year. I really like this neighbourhood and haven't had any issues until now. It's a very tight-knit community, neighbourhood barbecues at least once a month, the kids all play together after school, etc. My next door neighbours to one side have a severely disabled child. She is 6, almost 7, and completely non-verbal and wheelchair bound. They have nurses who help care for her, but I know her parents are struggling, understandably so. Her mum had to quit her job and is a full-time carer for her and that other older child. I've gotten relatively close to them, the parents, and they are lovely neighbours. The older child is respectful and honestly one of the sweetest children in the neighbourhood. For my mum, I bought a minivan and had it customised to have a ramp and wheelchair tie down so that I can easily transport her and her mobility equipment, usually an ECV or wheelchair, when she's staying with me. The other 4 to 6 months of the year when my mum spends time with her sister and friends in our home country, the car sits mostly unused unless I have a reason to move bigger things that won't fit in my daily driver. I noticed that the neighbours didn't have a car suitable for transporting their daughter without taking her out of the wheelchair and fighting to keep all her tubes and wires in place, so I offered them the use of my minivan if I wasn't using it to transport my mum. We've had an agreement in place that has worked well for us for almost 18 months, but now they've asked if they can use the car to go on a road trip. The trip is scheduled to last just over 2 weeks. The main reason for the trip is to take the kids to Disney World for the first time. My problem is that my mum is supposed to arrive a couple of days after they would leave. I asked if they could delay the trip just by a few days so I could at least get her from the airport with minimal stress. They're adamant they want to leave on the dates they want to, and I said no. I need to be able to comfortably get my mum from the airport, and after a 12-hour flight, I want her to be comfortable and not have to worry about getting in and out of the car. They called me selfish, and I've been ousted by the rest of the community. I wasn't invited to the last barbecue. Nobody says hi or waves back at me on the street anymore. The neighbourhood kids that come by to see my dogs and run around the yard with them haven't been by in almost 2 weeks. I tried to text the neighbours, but my text went undelivered, so I think they blocked me. I feel like I'm living in a hostile environment now and it's so uncomfortable. Should I just cave and let them take my car? Now, you was super generous in letting them borrow the car in the first place. You saw the struggles that they were going through, and you were kind enough to lend the vehicle when they need it, as long as you weren't using it. That was the only stipulation to this, is that as long as you wasn't using it and you needed it at that particular time, you gave them a choice of moving it and then they can have it for their trip. But they decided not to, and now they've gone and talked around to the other neighbours and turned them against you. I would maybe be talking to those other neighbours and relaying the exact situation, because I'm sure they've worded it in a way that suits them. But to me, I definitely wouldn't be backing down to this, because you've been kind enough in this situation. But chap Steve says not the arsehole and don't cave. It appears your friendly neighbourhood is actually made up of a group of false friends. You didn't ask for anything unreasonable, but they wouldn't adjust for you, even though you were extremely generous with them. This neighbourhood has turned toxic, and if it's possible, I suggest you find a community of more honest people. Bored Panda says not the arsehole at all. The agreement was that they could use it if you didn't need it. You need it. If they desperately wanted to use it, they should have checked dates with you first. Also, your other neighbours, they haven't been told the truth about what's going on. I can guarantee it. Yeah, and based on that comment, who the hell, books a trip based around someone else's vehicle without checking first? My word. Okay, Succotash says, not the arsehole. I honestly was expecting to open this post and see that you wouldn't let them use your vehicle, period. And I was prepared to say not the arsehole. This is a whole other level of ridiculous, choosy beggar behaviour. I'm sorry that your neighbourhood has turned on you. I think you should rescind all offers to use the van, period, because their behaviour is abhorrent. Also, if they can afford a road trip to Disney World for 2 weeks, then I kinda doubt they are hard off, as they have represented themselves. OP, I think these neighbours have very much taken advantage of your generous nature. And now, I turn this one to you guys. What would you do if you was in OP's position? Would you still be comfortable living in that neighbourhood? Would you be comfortable approaching the neighbours and hopefully clearing up the story, finding out their side, what they've been told? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for spending your time with me today. Getting involved in Tuesday's Pet Tax was absolutely amazing, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the windows. Okay, I know that today